as you had heard from the women from Now Sorry, that we're talking about health as well as access to safe, clean drinking water. Now we'll be hearing from the women from Navua, who will be speaking basically on the health service as well, with more focus on the health service in Navua. We have Ashna Kumar as well as Lusia Leo joining us this morning. Now, ladies, thank you very much for coming this morning. Could you tell us about the changes that you'd like to see in the health service in Navua?
Thank you. For the changes in the service, we really need improvement on the health services in our hospital in Navua.
Could you further elaborate on what changes?
That would include improvement in facilities, improvement in the doctors and nurses service, the improvement in our emergency area.
Okay.
The whole it's about the whole service in our hospital.
What about you, Ashna? What do you have to say about the health service? What changes would you like to be done?
Sometimes when we go there, there's a lack of medicine. Like, for example, there is not enough oxygen for a heart person. And when we go, they just give us 2 paracetamol and say, go buy rest in the pharmacy. And all expensive medicine is not always out of stock.
Okay, all right. So, in terms of the service that is being provided, you need more professionalism as well as the current service that you're facing right now. There is no efficiency. Is that what you're saying? As well as the medicines that you're receiving.
Yes.
Lucy, would you like to add?
Thank you for our doctors and nurses services. We would like to see and also state here that for the Ministry of Health, we need a revised curriculum in the medical, nursing and pharmacy service. And if there are other schools that train healthcare professionals, so that they too are trained in the new paradigm, as it says in CEDAW Article 12. And I'm sure if this will be brought up and this will be made known to the Ministry of Health, and I believe this will promote a change in our local hospital. Thank you.
Could you give us examples of the current situations that you're facing right now in Navua Hospital?
Probably when we go there, we have to wait for long hours and sit outside. And older people, they can't wait for long hours. When we go there, no proper sewage there. No proper sewage.
There's no proper sewage there?
Yeah. When we flush the toilet, the water comes up. One of our friends in our protest, they share the story with us.
And that's the hospital?
Yes. And no water, sometimes no water is there to drink for the patients.
For the facilities, I would say we lack beddings, we lack utensils in our hospital, and also with that water problem, I'm sure in hospitals that we are all aware that when we sit there for long hours, we should solve our own hydration first. And that is the main issue, that most of the time we come open the tap and there is no water. And there's an issue there for water, and also for our emergency. As we look at the distance, considering the distance from Navua to Suva, I'm sure if something can be done to bring the emergency service to our hospital in Navua, or as a case that comes in our discussion, as we were discussed yesterday, that within the distance that we call death, in the middle of transferring our patient from Navua to Suva. That's one of the main issues, if emergency cases can be solved and helped at our own hospital.
Yeah. Okay. So how do you think women should be involved in terms of the solutions that you have already brought up in the first part? How would you like women to be more involved in that?
I think more women should be involved in the meeting and more training should be given to nurses and doctors. And I think we should have one advisory counselor as a woman in our area so that we can go and complain to her.
Yes, it's for women, but I'm sure in our hospital we can see more women than our men. But what we are not really aware whether they are really considered there or not in decision makings. I'm not sure in the advisory body in our medical unit whether they are really considered in decision makings, in the leaderships that they are taking. Yeah, which we're trying to promote. Yeah, if our women mostly involved in those decision makings. Because we women, we know that we understand more regarding health. Yeah, and if women can speak loud and also be picked in our in this high levels of decision makers.
Yeah, because it's one thing for women to address issues, but it's another thing when you take it up and they're actually taken into consideration and followed. Because then if there's no consistency in terms of decision making, then there's no real reason for women to be part of it. So are there any community nurses?
No, there are no community nurses in our area.
I'm sure the majority of the population have to travel because the Navo hospital is quite far.
Where I live, when the new hospital, the fare is, if we have the fare, the fare is $30. So we go and sit there for long hours. It's rather than we go to private in Pacific Harbor.
So you rather go to Pacific Harbor than?
Yeah, private hospital is there.
And also in our Navo town, the only option is Navo hospital, because we just have one private doctor in town, and we don't have a choice. Even the private doctors are too expensive nowadays. So our only best option is a public hospital, and only if it can be improved in their service there, we are well done with it.
I had heard earlier during the consultation that one of the ladies had said that the service provided to the women in Nabua, in terms of the mothers, there wasn't any proper changing tables. Is that right, for the babies?
Oh yes, I witnessed one, and I really want to voice this out because there was a case. I went inside the washroom, and there was a mother changing the baby's diaper just on the floor of the washroom. And me as a mother, I really feel for her. And I would highly voice this out because if a proper table for our babies, for their changing. Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of the issues that have been raised about the health system and the service that's been provided in Navo Hospital, what have you been able to do about it? Have you taken it up to the relevant authorities, or has someone you know taken it up themselves, or is there anything that's being done right now?
Thank you. In hospitals, when we go in, there's always a box for suggestion box or any complaints that you. But I've noticed that that box is being lying there empty with no paper and no pen.
Okay, so it's just a box.
So maybe it's just an empty box. How we publics, we don't come with pens and papers to hospitals. So if that can be improved, and for me personally, this is the first time I'm attending this workshop, and now I'm recognizing myself as a women leader. I think from here, when I go out, then I'll be able to move on and look into all those things. What can I do for my community?
All right. Seeing that the hospital was built recently, 2014, am I correct? Was there any consultation with the people, the residents of Navua, before they built it, in terms of the service that they'd be providing? Did they check with the public first? Was there any communication with the residents?
No, they didn't check the public, and they didn't take any advice from the public.
Okay, so they just built it?
Yes, they just built the hospital.
And now there's no water there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us about the old hospital? What was that like? If you're comparing it to the new one?
The whole old hospital was like the new one.
to the same problems that you're facing with the new hospital, you're facing with the old one?
Yes.
Why did they move it that far?
They said because all the time the floods come there, that's why they move it to the highlands.
And then now
And they can't provide proper services there.
Okay. Alright. So, would you like that?
Thank you. I'm just living beside the old hospital, and from the stories that we gathered so far regarding the old hospital, it was just because of flooding that they moved to the new hospital. But most of the publics in most of the Navua residents, they are saying that the old hospital was better than the new one because of the distance. Now they have to travel that far, and plus traveling that far and getting a poor service is what it's a big complaint right now. And it looks good from the outside as you pass by, but as you really go inside, you can see that the service and even the room itself, it's too small. Inside, but outside it looks so big and nice. And the general ward also would like to say that we women and men are together in the same room.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Was that the same issue at the old hospital?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. That was Ashna and Lusia Leo talking about the access to proper health services in Nambua, where there'd like more to be done in terms of the access that they have at the hospitals and the equipment that they have that is available for them, as well as the medicines that they're getting. Thank you very much for joining us, ladies, and we'd like to hear more about the success of women in terms of eradicating this problem.